So, the Jeffrey Epstein files recently came out. A lot of people are talking about it, and a lot of people are upset about it, rightfully so. But before we get into that, I want to start off with this Bible verse. Luke 8:17 says, "For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open." And I just wanted to lead with that Bible verse because I understand that there's a lot of people who feel discouraged about what's going on right now. Regardless, I truly believe that eventually the truth will be revealed. The light, whatever's done in darkness, will come to light. Whether it's in this life or in the next one, I do believe that eventually the truth will come out. But I'm going to be honest. When it comes down to this situation, I don't think the truth is coming out anytime soon. And I will say, I'm a little shocked. Maybe I shouldn't be, but I will say I am a little shocked, considering I think I'm more shocked because this administration, first of all, they talked about releasing these files for a long time. Okay, it was a big hype right when Donald Trump won the presidency. He started talking about releasing the MLK files, JFK files, and the Jeffrey Epstein files.
There's a lot of intrigue surrounding the release of the Epstein files, Martin Luther King files, John F. Kennedy files. Some current and former FBI agents are saying, some of them telling me, that they feel the FBI establishment came out ahead in the standoff sort of with the New York FBI field office over releasing the records, and your Attorney General Pam Bondi demanding them but not getting all that she wanted. Is that process still on track? I think that's one of the most often questions I've been asked the last couple of days, to release these records on Epstein, MLK, and JFK.
Well, Pam Bondi's done a phenomenal job in every respect. And there could have been some holdback. I haven't heard too much about it, but they could. But the bottom line is the records are getting out.
Even though he always seemed a little hesitant about Jeffrey Epstein, I will say, which some people think it's because, he was friends with him, so maybe he did something shady. I don't necessarily think that. I will say I don't necessarily think that. I do think there's other things, and we'll get to that later in this video, but I guess he was always a little shaky on the Epstein. He kind of walked certain things back, saying like, I don't want to release a certain amount of stuff because there's a lot of bogus and baloney that's going on with this case. And I don't want to release a list of people, of just the flight logs in general, and then break up families and cause all this drama when a lot of these people on the flight logs might not have anything to do with it. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad way to think about it, because I don't think everybody who flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane was involved in what was going on behind the scenes. But I do find it hard to believe that someone that you or anybody has called a close friend for multiple years and has visited the island for multiple times, has flew on the plane multiple times. I'm not just talking about Trump specifically. I'm just talking about anybody on that list that this pertains to. Knew absolutely nothing about what was going on, didn't have any idea of what was going on, never heard anything. People talk. That's all we do. All we do is jab. And you're telling me that someone that you called a friend for multiple years, you never knew anything that was going on. You never knew or had any idea that he was doing something as sinister as he was. I just don't believe that. So the Epstein files were released, and they released a 12-hour video. And it was footage of apparently Jeffrey Epstein's cell. Now, a minute of that footage was missing. Okay, so it was, I think, between 11:58 and midnight. There's a minute in between that was missing. And a lot of people they find that suspicious. Why would you release this? Where's the minute? What happened in that minute? So we'll talk about that later. But not only did they release a 12-hour footage of a view of his cell door, which it wasn't really much of a view to begin with, they also came to the conclusion that there was nobody else involved in the trafficking, right? That it was just essentially Jeffrey Epstein and I guess Ghislaine Maxwell. That the list that they talked about so much, okay, is not a thing. There's actually not a list. There's just nobody else. All the conspiracies, all the theories that you guys thought, you're absolutely wrong. It's actually everything that was released about Jeffrey Epstein is actually what happened. There's no funny business. There's nothing shady going on. We have Attorney General Pam Bondi. Okay, she was appointed by Donald Trump to oversee the Justice of Department, and she also oversaw the Jeffrey Epstein case. Right now, there's a clip that's been resurfacing that she did an interview back in February on Fox News, and this is when the hype of the Jeffrey Epstein files being released was talked about in the media, right? She goes on Fox News. She gives this interview. The interviewer is asking her, "Oh, okay, so do you have any information?" And she says that she has the list on her desk.
DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
A lot of people are wondering, because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk, is when can we see them and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have well over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah, what you're going to see hopefully tomorrow is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information.
She literally says that. I have the list on my desk. We're going to be looking into it. Now, I will say that the reporter did ask, "Have you seen any details?" And she said no. Okay. But she did say, "I have the list. It's on my desk." Insinuating that the Trump administration is going to look into this and that they're going to do more investigation and that we should be receiving information sometime within the year, right? Or at least as soon as possible, whenever they're done fully investigating the information that she has. But she did make it seem that there was a list of people that was involved with Jeffrey Epstein and that we would receive information. But now there's no list at all. So what happened? She said there was a list. Now there isn't a list. That doesn't make any sense. And so I don't know if she just preemptively said that or she just was assuming that this was a list of people. But don't assume. This is your job. This is what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to give proper information, correct information, and you're not supposed to make it seem like you have something that you don't. What, just to make you guys look better? To give false hope to people? And I don't even think, I don't know. I don't know about her intentions when it comes out to that. So I'm not going to even speak on that because that wouldn't even be genuine. But it just doesn't make any sense. There's only two things that can come out of this. Either one, like I just said, she didn't know anything about what was on her desk. And she just assumed that these were a list of names and that she was excited to get this information out because one, it makes the Trump administration look better and that's who she works for. And two, it's probably because she actually wants justice to be served when it comes down to these victims. So I'm not going to sit there and take that away from her. But if you're going to say those things, make sure that you're factual, especially if you are in charge of overseeing this case and that you are appointed to be in charge of the Justice of Department. It's either that she just jumped the gun and spoke too soon, or they did have a list and now they looked at that list and now they don't want anybody on that list to be known. It's either one of the two. Both are horrible. So there's no way to go around this and say, okay, well, I get this, no, both are horrible outcomes, okay? Or I guess horrible scenarios is what I mean.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we'll check back with you.
Well, the reason this clip is resurfacing is obviously because we're receiving information about the files. But recently, Pam Bondi was asked about what was going on, asked about the 12-hour footage that was released. And in that moment, Trump kind of steps in and he was like, how dare you even ask about this right now?
You're still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking... We have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
I don't know why this meeting was being held. There were some people who were saying that he was having this meeting because he was trying to end war in the Gaza Strip or something. I don't know what the cause of the meeting was and why they were there initially, but this question was asked and Trump almost tried to shut it down. Now, Pam Bundy, she did try to come back and actually talk about it, right? Which I think that's what she needs to do. First of all, she's trying to clear her name, right? Pam Bondi, she's trying to clear her name because she saw that people were talking about that interview that happened in February. So she's trying to come back and combat the information that's going on online. And she pretty much, essentially, what she said was, I know I said that, but it didn't mean what you thought it meant.
In February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
Now, like I said, Pam Bondi oversees the Department of Justice, but there's also the FBI that's involved. So you also have Kash Patel and what is his name? Dan Bongino. Okay, so Kash Patel, he is the director of the FBI, and Bongino is the deputy director. Okay, these two people were in charge of overseeing the investigation as well. I do find it weird that these two people, Kash and Don, prior to them being elected and appointed to their position in the FBI, they were saying things like this.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list, they're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
You know, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that. His plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth about serious allegations out there that Epstein may have had video and audio of people out there doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And you should be asking yourself the question, how is it that all these people, the CIA director, the Obama fixer, Bill Clinton, all intersected paths with Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein isn't with us anymore, and nobody seems to want to talk about it.
So they had a completely different position prior to them being elected. Now that they're in office and now they actually have the power and the position to actually do something that they are so passionate about, right? But now, after doing extensive research on 300 gigabytes worth of data and pertaining to the Jeffrey Epstein case, now you're just saying nothing has been found. I think that's weird. I'm not going to lie. I do think that's weird, especially since Kash Patel, when asked, he was like, oh, the reason why the list hasn't been released is because they want to protect the people that are on that list. And now the list that y'all were talking about so heavily back in February is non-existent. So once again, could it be that they jumped the gun and these are just, these conspiracy theorists that finally thought that they had the potential to actually prove their point, and then when they actually did the research, they found that their point was proven wrong? Maybe so, but still, that's not how you should be dealing with this. As somebody who is in that position, talking to the American people, talking to the world, You shouldn't be jumping the gun on anything. So it's still unacceptable. Now, let's actually talk about the footage that was released, all right, in the prison. So there was a 12-hour video that was released of a camera angle pointing at Jeffrey Epstein's cell. First of all, when you look at the footage, you're going to see that there's 2 cell doors to the right, of the camera angle. Though that has nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. Apparently, Jeffrey Epstein's cell is across the hall, a little bit to the right, by the staircase, but you can barely see it. You can't even see anything. So my thing is twofold, right? One, apparently there's a minute missing from the video that everyone continues to talk about. To me, why are we even talking about that? It doesn't even matter. Because 2, you can't even see the cell. So even if something suspicious did happen at any time, okay, you would have not known. And I also want to give more context. The footage that was released, that 12-hour footage, is of the same day that apparently Jeffrey Epstein died. Okay, so that's why the footage is significant. But regardless, if there's a minute missing or not, you can't see anything. So that's tough. That's tough. That's tough. What are we gonna do? You can't even see if anything did happen. You wouldn't even be able to depict it. So I don't even understand. Well, I'm not gonna say I don't understand why people are in uproar about 60 minutes or 60 seconds being missing. But I'm saying even if that 60 seconds were there, you wouldn't really be able to see much. And then again, how much can you do in 60 seconds? I don't get that. Everyone is like, oh, where's the minute? Which rightfully so, you can ask that. But how much can you do in 60 seconds? Who is going to be able to murder somebody and set it up and look like a suicide in 60 seconds? I don't know. Maybe, and what do I know? I don't know anything, okay? I don't know a jack shit. So there possibly could be a CIA agent who's, trained to do something like that. I wouldn't even be surprised, okay? But I'm just saying 60 seconds is not a lot of time, okay? And like I get it, if it was 3 or 4 minutes, then maybe you would have piqued my interest just a little bit. But 60 seconds, okay? Now, why is there a minute missing? There's a minute missing because apparently the camera systems were old. All right, the prison is old. The camera systems is not new at all. And this minute, because the minute that's missing is like between 11:59 or 11:58 and midnight or something like that. And according to Pam Bondi, the same minute will be missing every day. If you go back and look at the footage, all right, the footage history, there's the same minute missing every day.
And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night.
And you have people who don't think that she's telling the truth. Honestly, to me, especially from 11:58 to midnight, around that time, like it's resetting the clock or whatever, I can kind of see a minute being missing right there, right? Now, if it was at in the middle of the day or something, okay, that would be a little bit more suspicious. But honestly, I kind of believe that. I'm not going to sit here and say that she's being truthful about everything, but when it comes down to that specific fact right there, or whatever she's saying, I kind of, that's not shocking to me. A minute missing between 11:58 and midnight, if the camera systems were old or whatever, and the timer clocks at midnight, somehow there's just, to me, that doesn't seem too crazy. You'll have people out there, even Candace Owens, who's saying that's the wildest thing ever. I don't even think that's that wild. I think that's pretty believable, in my opinion. Now, what do I think? I think 2 years ago, if you would have asked me if I believed there was something shady going on with Jeffrey Epstein's death, I would have 100% said absolutely. Okay? I would have. Not saying that I don't necessarily believe that now. I'm not entirely turned off by that idea. I just don't think it matters. I don't think it matters if he actually did what he did or not, or if somebody else did it to him. I don't think it matters. Okay? I think what really matters are obviously the victims, and that the people who were involved with hurting those victims receive punishment. And I think that the fact that there has been, in my opinion, some cover up with the people on that list, the people involved, I think that is what we should be focusing on. And I also think it's very disappointing that the administration, who has talked so much about justice, is handling the situation in the way that they are. And a lot of people are saying that, even MAGA people are saying that. So obviously there's something that's going on here that no matter if you're on the left or the right, you feel like there is some shady business that's going on. And a lot of us don't know crap. So I'm not going to sit here and say that we have the greatest insight. We're not in those spaces. We don't know those people. We're not in any political position of power. Okay. So a lot of us don't even know what we're talking about. But but what I'm trying to say is that an administration who talks so much about justice, the way that they're handling this, either, like I said, going back to, like I said in the beginning of this video, either they jump the gun or they're hiding something. Regardless, both scenarios are inexcusable. Okay, you are put in those positions for a reason, and that is not the way to go about it. And in my opinion, if this was another administration, okay, these people would not even give them the grace. They wouldn't even give them 1/10 of the grace that they're asking for. So I think it's very hypocritical. I think it's unprofessional. And I think they did a horrible job with handling the situation. All right, you guys, but let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll be down there ready to have a discussion with you guys. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.